So hello everybody. I think we can get started. Um, so today's session is
You're
a
inaudible.
panel discussion. I'm sorry, did anyone say something? Okay, so we can go ahead. Um, first, firstly, I would want to talk about all the panelists here, talk about our case partner, and also talk about 180 DC in general to everybody. So, so 180 Degrees Consulting IIT Madras is the world is a student-based consulting organization that is providing socially conscious organizations with high quality, affordable consulting services. We leverage the skills and expertise of the best students in India to problem solve and consult for organizations that create social impact. For ConsultSchool 2.0, we have the Udan Welfare Foundation as our case partner. And Udan Welfare Foundation is working to provide timely and meaningful support
To
to needy
support the
women and senior citizens by effectively implementing projects in the area of health, education, and nutrition, which have a sustainable, cost effective, and positive impact on society and environment. We have with us our first panelist as Dr. Anil Lunia, who is the founder and the president of Udan Welfare Foundation. He is the senior consultant physician associated with Jupiter Hospitals, Bethany Hospital, and Dr. L.H. Hiranandani Hospitals in Thane. He is a passionate professional who has served the society at large professionally as well as through diverse philanthropic activities. His administrative and leadership qualities have helped successfully leading the Udan Welfare Foundation for the last 13 years and guiding it to serve the people in need from all walks of life. As a second panelist, we have Abhairaj Naik. He is an educator, community builder, and system practitioner. His work focuses on art, ecology, education, justice, technology, and transformation. He is the co-founder of a non-profit organization called the Initiative for Climate Action, a visiting faculty member at the Azam Premji University and the National Law School of India University, a justice and transformation consultant, and
He
an
is the
advisor
co-founder of a non-profit organization.
to a number of progressive social and environmental causes in India and other parts of the world. He is the vision holder for an online resource space, Climate Justice India, as well as for an emergent educational network called the South Asian Network for Justice Education. Abhay, Mr. Abhairaj is currently also initiating a center for spiritual ecology in Bangalore to hold space for spiritual discovery and expression at this moment of ecological breakdown. As a third panelist, we have Ms. Asta Narang. She is an impact consultant and has been working in the development space for 6 years. Currently, she is consultant at Sattva Consulting. She has worked on various projects spanning advisory, portfolio, outreach, partnerships, strategy consulting, and organizational development across social ecosystems. She has experience working with UHNIs, philanthropists, parliamentarians, government ministries, and NGOs in livelihood, gender, health, and governance. She has also founded TYUF.in, a social venture working with schools across India on designing and implementing sex ed and inclusive curriculum modules. As our fourth panelist, we have Ms. Sujata Ramani. She is a social entrepreneur and the CEO of the Pollinate Group. She is also the awardee of the TSS Women Social Entrepreneur of the Year Global Award 2021 and has been the Social Entrepreneur of the Year for the past 3 consecutive years. She has had a past experience of 30 years in the corporate, entrepreneurial, and social experience in multiple functions such as sales, marketing, and global program management for R&D and engineering to add value, positive, and to positively impact the to po- and to add value and create new employment. These are these are our four panelists, and I would like to forward the session to Kanishk, who will be the moderator for today. Kanishk, over to you.
Okay, so hello everyone. Today we have four wonderful panelists with us. So first of all, I would welcome you all to the session. And so let us start our discussion. My first question would be to Dr. Anil Lunia. Sir, we have witnessed your amazing work in health and education. So, what was your motivation behind starting an NGO like Udan Welfare Foundation, which also focuses on different areas like nutrition, health, education, and much more? And being a family who had been freedom fighters, did that contribute in any way to motivate you for the social impact space?
Thank you, Kanish. First of all, I thank you and your team for inviting us to be the partner for your program. And I thank you for giving us this opportunity to intermingle with all the participants. Udan Welfare Foundation was sort of a journey which we started without any form of planning. Basically, we had started a program for the orphan girls to develop some soft skills way back in 2007. And when we executed the program, we were 41 members. Initially, we started with 3, but as we continued to grow, we were 41 members at the ultimate day of execution of that soft skill program. And the program was so successful, the members were so highly motivated that they all decided that we should form a group and we should start working together for the betterment of the society. Hence, we started working on that, and we came up with the name. We came up with all the legal formalities and got ourselves registered in 2008. All our members are very well placed professionals, and they come from diverse backgrounds, and they have been a part of our journey for the last 16 years. And we are very passionate about the work what we have been doing, and focusing on health. Being a health professional always has been my motive to help not only the privileged but also to the underprivileged. Without being a part of the NGO also, we have been doing our social service. But with the NGO, we have got a direct impact and direct reach to the needy, and our skills have sort of been shared with them. The part of the freedom fighters, both my grandparents were freedom fighters, and those genes are still there with us. The humility, the humbleness, the sincerity, honesty, and integrity of their work during the freedom struggle still gives us a lot of inspiration, and we draw a lot of energy from their blessings, and we continue to pass on our values to the sorry, there's a call coming in.
Okay. So thank you, sir, for running us through your organization and your
I'm
family
sorry.
background. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got disconnected with an incoming call. So, hello.
Yes, sir, you can continue.
Yeah. So we take the blessings of our grandparents, and we continue to work with the same passion and zeal for the underprivileged at the moment.
Thank you, sir. Surely, the freedom fighters inspire us even now in their stories. Now, my next question would be to Mr. Abhiraj Nayak. Sir, with you being from very field of law, we would all want to know what inspired you to choose and go forward with building a non-profit company in the climate action, also in justice, education, and public law space. You being a faculty member in different universities, taking courses on climate justice in India, could you also tell us more about this field?
Sure. Thanks very much, Kanishk. I'm wondering, might it be possible for me to share a brief presentation?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay, then I'll just do that, and I'll respond to your question through that. So I hope this is visible for you, and I think at the outset, I want to say congratulations to everyone in the organization of this event. And in general, I think the vision and the approach of 180DC and more generally, learners and students and universities contributing to social impact is truly noble and must be supported. So I'm very glad to have a chance to connect with the wonderful learners and participants in the room. I think my own motivation with doing this work began almost in some way through my attitude and my sensibilities. I don't think it followed a very formal professional trajectory because more than 20 years back as a young law student or a potential law student, when I was asked to write a long essay about why is it that you want to study law and why do you want to join law school, I still remember that what came to me was that I wanted to use the law to bring about social equality and to respond to injustice, right? And of course, once you join law school and through the journey of legal education and professional life after, at moments that utopian thinking, the angry activism, even the extraordinary naivety and innocence with which one approached social issues began to wear off in bits and parts. But I think that central core, which is suffering, is something that bothers me quite deeply. Suffering of others, suffering of the planet, suffering of the more than human, and almost in the way of the Bodhisattva, right, who sort of says that no, I will give up on the offer of escape from rebirth as long as even one blade of grass is suffering. I see my work as constant and continuing. This is not to indicate that I have any kind of great capabilities. It's just that I've been throughout my life quite influenced by very emblematic figures, including, I think, as Dr. Lunia referenced, the freedom fighters. The freedom struggle itself has been quite influential for me. So, starting off with an initial love for nature, I began to get deeper and deeper into who are the people and who are the more than human life that live in this land, and what is it that actually ails them, right? What leads to suffering, and what can I do to, in a modest way, bring my consulting, my activism, my non-work, but also my teaching and the projects that students carry out in my courses to bear. So just wanted to give you, through this juxtaposition of two frameworks, or rather one photograph and one framework, wanted to tell you what happens, how powerful it is when you keep the individual and suffering at the center of your work, right? Because If you read through goal 1 to goal 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals, quite a laudable framework, and we're in the middle of the stop point period. And obviously, there's a lot of work to be done. We're quite behind on many indicators, but the language is a little abstract. The language is a little alienating, right? Even if you talk about goal 5, achieve gender equality, or goal 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all ages, goal 1, end poverty in all its forms, or the one of particular interest to me, goal 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. For me, when you think of the person in the photograph, this is an award-winning photograph by someone called Prashanta Biswas. You really begin to see the urgency of gender equality, education work, climate action, ensuring access to water to all, rural development, so on and so forth, right? You even begin to ask, who might this young person be? Why is she not in school? Is she the one forced to bring water? Is her elder brother or younger brother excused from this task and invited to go to school, whereas she has to take this job? And with water becoming more and more difficult as the planet gets hotter, has that changed her circumstance? Was she perhaps earlier in school because she could get that water in 10 or 15 minutes, but now she has to devote 1 or 2 hours, right? So I'll just stop there for now, and I'll perhaps return to this. I have a couple more slides to work with. That was the, I would say, the original seed. And the last sentence I want to share is, along the way, there's been constant inspiration in and through the good works of others, right? So whenever I feel particularly overwhelmed or sad or even hopeless, uh, almost magically someone who has energy and is inspiring. It's almost like when you're cycling and you're about to give up, someone goes whoosh past you with a burst of energy and inspires you also to continue. Life has constantly given me collaborators and mentors along the way. So that's why this justice element is quite central to my consulting work, to my research, to my teaching, and also to the work the nonprofit does.
Thank you, sir. So my next question would be to Ms. Sujata Ramani. Ma'am, you have a varied background in marketing and skills. So what motivated you to join the social impact space? And also, can you tell us about the journey of the Pollinate group? You having an experience of 30 years in the entrepreneurship space, and also being an award-winning entrepreneur for last 3 consecutive years.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I always get very inspired and energized talking to the youth of the nation. I think they are the future for all of us. And if they are all in a platform like this, talking about social problems and wanting to commit their energies to solving social problems, I think there can't be a better place. And I'm extremely happy to be amidst Dr. Anil and Abhay. And I'm sorry, I'm missing the other name. Yeah,
Asta.
Asta. Lovely. So I think this is an extremely, interesting group of people that we can learn from one another. Like, the initial introductions went, I spent my initial few decades in the IT industry, like everyone else in Bangalore. And again, like many in Bangalore, I also ran my own few startups. But what stuck along is the fact that we need to start putting our energies to solving very large social problems. And my startup had the potential to create jobs, and that's how I realized that there is so much more to do in the social space while you can still create solutions around it. And that's how I stumbled into the social world, and very, very gratefully so. And I resonate very deeply with all that Dr. Anil and Asta and Abhay are talking about. I think these are very, very deep-rooted problems, and I think we are all here because somewhere along in our very, very early days of childhood, we've all been touched by certain things that have happened around us, by the people around us that inspired us, and so on. And to me, it was, my own family members that have been extremely, empathetic towards people that would come home and help. And we would always make it a point to make sure that the girl children that the people that worked with us had were the ones that were always, disproportionately disadvantaged. And I think we should definitely look, I would personally do it, and my family, my aunts, everybody would make sure that they would always focus on the girl child of the people that would come and help us in our homes. And I think that kind of had a very deep-rooted impact in what I'm doing right now and committing my, career time to this space. Pollinate is an organization that works with providing entrepreneurship skilling to women that have had no opportunities in their life at all. These are women that get married in their tender early teens and move from rural to urban, seeking livelihoods along with their husbands. And by the time they're 2022, they have a couple of children. I'd like to show a very short 2-minute video on how our transformation works on our interventions works on transforming women from the marginalized communities. Can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Should I be made the host for it, or I could still share it?
You can share it now.
Sure. Okay. Mm. I don't see the sharing. Okay, yeah, I think I got it. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay, so I have to get over. There are many thousands of communities like this in India and Nepal that live in unspeakable living conditions and have no access to anything on the grid, no electricity, water, or sanitation. They clean and wash in the open. Women are primarily burdened with these chores and all other family responsibilities. This is the story of Rashida, a mother of 3 who did not want her life to go down this path. She tried to redefine her destiny. She has a small job serving lunch to school children for an hour, which was insufficient to meet her needs. Her day is spent cleaning and cooking for her family and helping her husband in his chicken meat shop. This has been her life for 20 years. 4 years ago, she decided to join the entrepreneurship program with Pollinate. She learned to use the smartphone and gain business skills and did digital financial transactions. She aggregated the needs of her community and fulfilling them to build her business. She earns an income now to meet the needs of her family by selling clean energy products to her community and creating a cleaner and healthier neighborhood. Her family is supportive of her journey and she finds joy now that she can light up homes. Today, she is an independent woman who has gained social value as she has access to a dignified source of income. Rashida is among hundreds of women who have created micro businesses that have helped them beat poverty. This journey was not easy, she says. In the beginning, she was shy and hesitant and doubted her abilities. With time, she tapped into her courage and confidence as she wanted to be free of the loan sharks who were the only source of money in these communities. Let's join hands to create more Rashidas and help them out of poverty. Do I stop sharing? Yeah, stop sharing. Yeah. So this is in a nutshell what we do. And when we recruit these women, we do not apply any filter of education. Like Abhay was just saying, most of the girls are denied opportunity to go to school. And if we also put that filter, we know that many of them will not pass through. So we just want to look at women that have a deep intent to do something with their life. And we start investing in their entrepreneurship training and skilling. And I strongly believe we all have the collective ability to, take that 1 inch forward and make sure that we are all impacting the people around us to help see a world that can be poverty free, and like Abhay was talking, suffering free. And as we do all of this, what really inspires me more is the fact that these women distribute clean energy products as they create a cleaner and a healthier environment, and we still use grid electricity for our own comfort. But I think it's important that people should have a higher quality of life to be able to seek that higher quality of access to things and products in their lives. So that's exactly what we do at this point in time.
Thank you, ma'am. What your organization is doing is really inspiring for all of us. Now, my next question would be to Miss Asta Nair. Ma'am, you being an active person in the social space and your work towards the sex education, what drove you to join Satwa as a social impact consultant? Could you also throw some light about your journey as a consultant at Satwa, and what kind of projects do generally consultants do in the social sector?
Okay, firstly, thanks Kanishk and the whole team of 180DC for having me here. I think it's really great that there are some consulting things happening at every college now, and people are talking about social impact space with consulting, which has been a journey which has always been running in parallel, and very less intersections were there. So good to know that the space is evolving. So about my journey and how I joined the consulting industry, right? So I started with a very grassroots organization. I was in Odisha working with rural communities, also working with the administration and member of parliament. The idea was to be a bridge between the community and the administration, to have a community say also in the administration, which sometimes it's lacking. So administration might have the intention and the will to make changes, but sometimes the action never meets the intention, and that could be just because of lack of time, lack of resources, or multiple other reasons. So we were a group of fellows on the ground, understanding the problems on ground. And while what I had in mind was that, okay, I'll be the one probably vocalizing the community's voice to the administration. What really happened was a needle shift within my mind. I realized that the problems are really grave from what we've been reading in the academia and everything. I was in Ashoka University, which gives a full flavor of what happens in public policy and on ground. But books and ground don't match most of the times. And that was my first lesson in the development space, right? You hear from the women, you've been reading about the success of self-help groups in the books like anything. But when you touch the ground, you realize, okay, there are groups existing, but there are no active groups existing. There is no forward market linkage. There is not very high financial literacy. And you still need that support from outside consultants to facilitate things. So one notion that broke for me was, okay, consultants do the things on the ground. And that's actually a very I would say a drastic wrong thing to go out with. You should only facilitate what's happening on the ground. You should hear from the ground. You should learn from the ground and just facilitate. Don't be the change makers for them. Like, learn more from them instead of just telling them we know what to do, because you've not been living on the ground for a long time of your life. So I did some on ground work. Then I also did bit of public policy advocacy, and did a lot of public policy programs to understand that now that I've had flavors of most of the things that could happen in the ecosystem, I realized consulting was the next space to be in. And contrary to the popular belief that social impact consulting is just working with the NPOs, I think social impact consultants are working with probably every player in the ecosystem, right? From the government, from CSRs, NGOs, yes, closely. And another emerging section that's happening is the UHNI space. UHNI space is basically ultra high net worth individuals who want to do philanthropy, but not because a government is telling them to as part of compliance. So CSR, as we all know, right, it's a 2% norm of, if you cross a certain profit benchmark, you have to contribute 2% as part of the compliance. But a lot of individuals, a group of individuals who just want to drive social impact space are also in this space to make a change. And they're not compliant by any law. They want to do it out of their own will. Like Sujata ma'am said, or Dr. Anil said about their stories of how they were, like, they had the motivation to join the sector, right? There are multiple other people who are not from this space. They do not understand impact. It's just the intention, the will to drive impact. So consulting spaces also work with them. Satwa particularly, like I said, we work with CSR, we work with philanthropists, we work with NGOs, we work with government. And again, unlike to the popular belief, we just don't do fundraising, right? And that's in fact the lastest thing we do. What we do is facilitate things in the ecosystem. What we do is enunciate the voice of the community, and what we do is do more data-led decision making. Because at times when you are providing your consulting services to individuals, they will not understand poverty as a concept of poverty with two lines. You need to put data to them. Everybody understands poverty, right? It's only the data that pressurizes you to make the right decision at the right geography. So what we do is maybe bridge the intention and the action in the ecosystem. But yes, I think consulting as an industry is very wide, and social impact is a small dot in that industry, but that dot is quite an impactful dot right now, because there are a lot of players in the ecosystem. What we need really is the collaboration. So that's how I joined the consulting industry in social impact space.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Anil Lunia. Sir, you are involved with various stakeholders in different fields. What would you say about the education and health sector, especially look like in the current situation? And what is your vision for Udan in next 5 to 10 years? And what challenges have you been facing in the present time? Uh, uh, can you highlight those? Sir, actually, you are muted.
I'm sorry. I would just like to share my experiences concerning the health and education sectors in the last 16 years. We are working at the grassroots. So we see what exactly is the situation in different parts of the localities where we work. The facilities for education are very, very limited. The facilities for health services are also have been very, very limited. Gradually, we have also seen the progress and the development towards both these sectors, especially post-COVID. There has been a tremendous amount of improvement in the services being provided by the government, and yet there is a lot more to be done. Education per se, we have been working with the students of, say, majority of them are from the 5th to 8th standard. And the challenge what we see is lack of focus, lack of attention, and application. They don't have any concept of time management. They don't have the value of time, basically. So we have tried to engage them. And as we started engaging them, we have started getting them sort of involved. And as they started getting involved, they started to learn and to participate. So that was the first step what we have tried to overcome. And we have made a lot of changes in the students, and we have sort of transformed hundreds of students by having this ground approach to them. Health also, the facilities are very basic, which are available in these underprivileged communities. They all have to depend on the sort of undergraduates, and specialist services are not available. Same way, oral health services are very, very limited in availability, and the oral health services are very expensive. We have tried to provide a complete 360 degrees type of health on an OPD basis, where we have set up our own dental clinic. We give dental treatment at very subsidized rate so that it becomes affordable for them. And it is at par with the quality what the better clinics or the better hospitals are providing. So we don't compensate on the quality of the work what we are doing, so that they get the benefit out of it and they maintain their health. We consider oral cavity as the gateway to health, and disease. So if we take care of oral health, we prevent many diseases from happening. So we build up a healthy community by that. We have also brought in specialist doctors to come over and serve the community at a very, very low cost. So that it becomes very affordable for them and they have benefited a lot. We have provided them with technological facilities so that they provide the best possible services to them. Our vision is basically to improve on the services what we are providing, plus expand our services in more communities in our surroundings where we can reach out to larger number of people. Presently, we are serving to about 250,000 people for the last 8-9 years. Now we intend to reach out to more than 1 million people. We are in the process of trying to identify a project where the whole setup what we are presently running as a community development center to take it to different communities in different modules on different days so that the health, the nutrition, the education sector, the livelihood sector is brought to the doors of the community.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, I would like to ask Mr. Abhay, sir, given your experience as an advisor and consultant, what trends or shifts have you observed in the social impact space in recent years? Also, have your experience in multiple sectors like climate action, justice, education, and private law? So, what, according to you, is the major challenge these industries face in the current scenario? And could you highlight the future prospects and contributions of these fields to the social impact sector?
Thanks, Kanishk. Those are quite big questions, so I'll try and be uh, focused on what I think are one or two of the important trends, and then perhaps share a little bit of how I see climate action and climate justice as really becoming a world-changing trend in the employment space, but also in the education, governance, policy, and broadly development space, right? I think for me, suited to this audience, what I think would be the number one trend in the advisory and consulting space that I want to highlight is an increasing demand for specialists who are not reductionist, right? And let me take a minute to just explain that. It means across sectors, education, health, agriculture, food systems, governance, etc., you're increasingly beginning to move towards what one could helpfully identify as a systemic viewpoint, right? Where one sees really the feedback loops as part of the larger system, understands that there are some regular patterns which allow for leverage points. And if one has the ability to find those leverage points well, one could well change the system by putting in, relatively speaking, low quantum of effort, right? And within each of these sectors, especially in the context of work in India, and at the risk of generalizing, I dare say the global South, there is a recognition that systems are nested or systems interact with each other, right? So you can no longer just do water work without also having a point of view on food work. You no longer can just do food work without having a point of view on energy work, right? And therefore, correspondingly across the impact ecosystem, right from the level of funders to the monitoring, evaluation, and learning specialists to the implementing organizations to the recruiters working in the space, there is a recognition of this new set of competences or capabilities which are rare, are increasingly being sought for, and beyond a point offer a fairly vibrant set of opportunities for the consultants and advisors or personnel involved. right? So I think that's for me been the biggest trend, and this non-reductionism also extends to bridging the qualitative and the quantitative data gap. Asta mentioned the importance of data-driven decision making, right? And even within the world of data-driven decision making, consultants who can sort of work with the different kinds of discrete heterogeneous data that is available in a messy social situation, and then present a compelling story, right? About what has happened, what needs to happen, and how to get there are increasingly being prioritized. So I think that for me is the number one opportunity. It also brings with it a steep learning curve. It also makes one wonder, at every moment in life, there is this dilemma. Should I get specific here or should I continue to be a generalist, right? And I don't think there is a clear answer this way or that way. It's just that I'm seeing with increasingly complex nested problems, a greater demand for these multi-dimensional skill sets and competences. And as regards the second question, I'll just be very, very brief because I've used up a lot of my time. I think for me, climate justice, like environmental policy and environmental law before it, is particularly exciting because it's going to a foundational response to what ails the system, right? If you just look at the quote by Asad Rahman, who runs the NGO, the UK headquartered NGO War on Want, he clarifies that climate change actually is reinforcing all of those other inequalities, and climate injustice is itself an expression of those things, right? And if you just think of heat waves, for example, or you think of floods, particularly in the context of Chennai, both of these are very, very relevant. The ones who bear the brunt of a heat wave or an urban flood will usually be the people who are the most marginalized, right? The homeless who are living at under the flyovers or don't really have a permanent shelter, as well as the elderly, the differently abled children, etc., right? And similarly, when one looks at who is solving for climate justice, usually the plaudits and the applause and the big bucks go to a very, very powerful, and I'm just showing you my slightly activisty stance here, usually European-centered consultancies, right, that are working with the Indian government at multiple levels. The humble street cleaners of Chennai, right, for example, would not be recognized as heroines of the climate justice story. And that is what makes climate justice work exciting. It's a very much an evolving journey. It goes to questions of historical responsibility, both within the country and globally. So there's certainly a lot of international traction there. It's interested in disproportionate impacts, who's suffering and who's not. And this will extend to access to electricity, access to water, access to products of health, access to doctors, access to urban space, right? Access to justice through courts. There are disproportionate impacts that climate change brings. And mostly it invites us to once again come back to an integral approach, to reconnect the body and mind, reconnect past and present, reconnect science and arts, reconnect the inner and outer, and doing this by asking fundamental questions about power, right? Who speaks, who is heard, who is recognized, who decides, and what finally gets done. So in the consulting world, I bring in that slight radicalness to the conversation. Sometimes it leads to situations where some people feel like, oh, this person is perhaps a little too strident, or it's going to lead to an embarrassment if this person is calling out something. But for me, that's my position in the consulting ecosystem, right? Because if I do what I do, someone else can be emboldened to perhaps be slightly more audacious, or not to have a very, very mainstream greenwashing kind of solution. And I myself am emboldened and inspired by people who are really putting their bodies on the line, right? Finally, I'm not a grassroots protester. I'm not being evicted from my lands, but I see those people. I meet them. I see their courage. I am blown away by the energy they bring to their work. And then I realized that, hey, maybe some part of that can come into my reports, into my presentations, into my classrooms, and into the advice I give into well-meaning leaders across the government, private sector, and non-profit sector. So I'll stop with that and turn it back to you, Kanch.
Thank you, sir. So now I would like to ask Ms. Sujata Ramani. Ma'am, as a CEO of Pollinate Group, you work towards empowering and training local women entrepreneurs from India and Nepal. What do you think are the major challenges faced by this particular sector? Also highlighting where do you think this field would stand in the coming years? Considering the current situations, where do you see India moving towards these fields in the social impact sector? Ma'am, actually, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much for asking that question, Kanish. They're all very, very, meaningful questions. And I'd like to take off from where Abhay left. And they're all very, very deep-rooted, very, very, valuable statements that he made. And I think each one of those are very important. And Pollinate, he also put up the slide on the SDG goals. So the audience are a lot familiar with what we are chasing. We are chasing 1, 5, and 7, which is identifying women, providing them the opportunity, giving the putting the gender lens on, and giving them entrepreneurship as a skill, which helps them build micro businesses, which means they are pulling themselves out of intergenerational cycles of poverty. And they do so by distributing clean energy products, which is instantly improving the living conditions of people in the community that are stopping to use kerosene lamps and candles, and are stopping to use even plastic as fuel for cooking every evening. So I think there is so much of work to do in our collective effort is all going to is to be driven in that direction. Now, the reason why, I am so committed to our model is because we are not giving away anything free. We are not, giving them few solar lights, which will last a few years, and then they are back to using kerosene lamps or candles and so on. We are trying to empower these women by providing them entrepreneurship as a skill. To me, again, going back to, all the climate damages that's going to happen around us, and the dislocations that are going to be happening, the displacements of communities that are going to happen, the skill that we are imparting to these people is going to be helping them build their lives wherever they are going to be displaced, which means those people living under the flyovers, if they are the ones that are going to be displaced, wherever they go, if they have the empowerment of a skill in their hand and they're able to start building a micro business somewhere, I think we are preparing them for being a little bit of climate resiliency. And I believe that this is not going to be possible by just an organization like Pollinate, which is, working in a scale that we are currently able to. Again, encapsulating, all the conversations I had with what Asta was also talking about, working with those, Uber HNIs or super HNIs and their organizations behind. This is something that has been consuming my mind over the last few weeks. I was at a worldwide social enterprise conference, and I very clearly noticed that Abhay was talking of the global south, but the opposite of global south is only focused on the climate. They don't seem to understand the current problem of poverty, education, access to income, livelihoods as real life, global south problems. I do understand that climate will make these problems for everyone on the planet, but I think it's important to recognize some of these as skills to be developed so that people are even aware of the fact that something like a climate change is going to be hitting upon them, and they need to prepare themselves differently to be able to manage and come out of that successfully. What has been really bothering my mind at this point in time is these large organizations that this is I'm going to throw it out to these young minds out here. Let's take these 17 SDG goals, right? Now, these 17 SDG goals, let's take the top, Fortune 500 companies. Now, Fortune 500 companies, let's take just 10% of those 500 companies. Let's take 50 companies. 50 companies owning up one goal each one will have at least 2.5 goals, right? So let's make the mathematics easy. Let's say, three goals are taken by each companies. An organization like Polynet, which is chasing 3, goals of the 17, should be the ones that they, incubate or, assimilate within themselves to take on the whole, mission and vision of creating a poverty-less world led by women distributing clean energy products. Why this is important is because, the fact that we need the highest, again, going back to Abhay's, the money is going to those large foundations chasing large, numbers and large impact outcomes, but actually being in the ground, realizing those outcomes needs those kind of resources, needs those kind of brain power. The business world gets those brain powers, but the social world does not get that brain power. And we need to go around asking for funding to make that happen. Why should that be the case? Why can't these companies be just incubated inside and we all deliver on those outcomes that we give? I think the thought process has to change. We have the capability to bring those impact, to give out those outcomes, and we should not be chasing, fundraising and chasing the money to do it. I think we should be, funneled or, funded or fueled properly to, make sure that today we've done 2,200 women. And with the current model that we have, we are going to do 10,000 by 2025. That's such a small number considering the number of people that actually need it. With climate staring at us, the climate danger staring at us, the number is going to be much, much more bigger. So I, throw this plea out here, and the young minds and the minds that are here from the fraternity, from the ecosystem, if we are all able to put our collective thoughts to identifying problem solvers, change makers, such as all of us here in the panel, be well, resourced to chase this and create that change that we want to see in our lifetime. So I think the challenges we face are, nothing but, finding the resources to, fuel a well-running model to create that change that we want to see and bring that climate resiliency as well. So let's not try and, think that these are problems that are going to be solved in isolation or in silos. But this huge climate, change that's going to happen is going to encompass all of us. And we really need to keep our eyes and ears open and provide enough, interventions proactively and prepare people for being able to be resilient on that.
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Now, my next question would be to Ms. Astha Naran. So, ma'am, given your experience at Satya, could you shed light on the role of impact consulting firms in driving positive social changes? And how is this sector evolving over time? Could you also share with us some challenges these firms face during the current situation?
Yeah. So I'd actually answer this question not just from the standpoint of a impact consultant, right, but also from the standpoint that I also run my own organization, TYU have taught in, which is which is in the social space, working on sexuality, education, and gender inclusivity with the school children and educators. And what challenges I face from that point of view are very different from the challenges I face when I'm probably doing collaborations and facilitating things in the ecosystem as a consultant, right? So as an organization, I think I echo a lot from what Sujata ma'am said, right? That it's always the question of who to go to, when to go to, and the fact that the problems are not working standalone. Like a gender problem is an education problem, is a climate problem, is an everything problem, right? So, and what happens when you talk to somebody who's not from this sector? Say, suppose you're going to a CSR for fundraising. They understand problems in silos. So they have the mandate of investing in education. But the moment you then club education with climate or gender, it suddenly becomes, oh, that's an added layer of problem. But that's not how things are happening in the ecosystem. And I think that answers my question as a consultant, that how do we tell people in the ecosystem that problems are not working in silos? The problem is, it's literally a club of problems people deal with. And the solutions also have to be the same. The solutions need to offer not just one perspective solution. It has to be a solution from the ecosystem itself. And there are a lot of things evolving in the ecosystem for solution offering as well. Just as an example, Sattva has a SKI, which is Sattva Knowledge Institute, where we are actually going on the ground and also doing the academia, publishing things for the people in the ecosystem to read that how problems are not working in silos. And we have a climate division, we have a gender division, we have a healthcare division and an education division, and they also work in collaboration to offer solutions, right? The other is definitely from a perspective of fundraising, because that's something all of you would also encounter very soon in your career, no matter in wherever you go. If not as a fundraising problem, maybe as a sales problem, maybe as a marketing problem. But this is a thing that you will be having across your career, and there are innovative solutions to do that, right? Again, just as an example, Satva has a thing called India Partner Network, where NGOs can come in and register themselves, and it's like a party of NGOs in a way, where you can talk about fundraising, where you are registered in Satva, so that if there's a fundraising opportunity that comes in, so we connect them that way. But to answer your question more in a slightly pointed way in terms of what's evolving and what are the challenges, I think one thing that's evolving is, so like, initially when Sujata ma'am said that she had a career in corporate and later on she switched to a proper impact space. I think people are doing it very initially in their career, which is amazing. Like you people from IIT Madras, I'm sure a lot of you would have background in STEM only, right? And you are still interested in the social impact space. So that's like a big change I've seen in terms of the admin part of this space, and not from an impact point of view. Reason being, we do need diversity of people. We just don't need social, like liberal arts, social sciences, or anything. We need engineers, we need data centric people, so that the ecosystem itself progresses that way. So that's definitely a change. The other change I see right now is that I think post-COVID, people have started realizing that there are multiple social problems that are existing, and everybody needs to bat an eye on it. So whether it's to doing philanthropy in terms of going to a nearby school and teaching underprivileged kids, that's also a sort of solution you're offering at your own thing. Or, emergence of things like Give India, or more domestic philanthropy happening in terms of individual donations. I think that itself is a great change. Third is definitely more work with the government, because ultimately, no matter where you are in the space of this, government will come in. And government has started to recognize the work of people on the ground. I think it's been doing it for quite some time now. But is that the people also in the space now realize the importance of government? And that's definitely a great change that's happening. So that, and I think one change is all of us in this discussion right now, that talking about social impact space, understanding SDGs, and just be more motivated to do it as a career and not just as a side hobby, which can go on your CV, or you might feel good about it on a Saturday. So I think those changes are much welcome. But along with that, yes, there are challenges. And one challenge that just was pointed out, right? The generalist versus the specialist. That's a challenge. I think Abhay you pointed it out. That's a challenge I also face at an everyday, as an everyday thing in my life. And a small solution I have offered myself to that is a T specific approach, right? You can be a generalist all across, but have a specialization in one deep down thing. I think that's an evolving thing. And yes, we do need specialists in problem solving, especially when you talk about social impact space. So those are some challenges, and I think, but I have that hope, because when you're in this space, you need to have a strong patience capital. Impact does not happen over a week or a year or probably 5 years. You need to stick to it. There'll be multiple challenges. For the needle to shift, it takes years and years and years of patience, right? You can, just for an example, you can take up any bill that's passed in the parliament. Even that takes a lot of time. And that's from the point of view of people who hold the power. So just understand, when you do not have a power in the system directly, you're just working in the system, how much time would it require for a change to happen? So I think with the strong patience capital and more people entering into the space, the challenges will soon be more interesting to solve, and the space will only grow more strongly.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, we will have a fun round of discussion. So it's a rapid fire round. I'll ask you some questions and you have to answer in just a few words, 2 or 3 words. The flow would be Dr. Anil, then Mr. Abhay Raj, then Ms. Sujata, and then Ms. Asta. Okay. So So, the first question would be, what would you say to someone who is on the fence about working in a social impact space or taking a conventional job?
Kanish, can you be slightly louder? I think your voice is not the clearest.
Okay. So the question was, what would you say to someone who is between choosing in a social impact space or taking a conventional job?
I would prefer to have an exposure to social impact job for at least 3 to 6 months and then take a regular job if it fits well. That gives you an insight into your regular job later also in your life as you grow higher.
No.
I guess it's my turn next. So I would say go for it. The world needs you and give yourself a chance to really become the person you can be. You're for sure not going to have a boring life, and you're going to meet some wonderful people along the way.
You're on mute.
Sorry, my thought would be to go to the business world, learn how to fight problems because you're taught that very well there, and then come about, solving this problem, not more than 2 to 4 years at max, and then come around this side of the world. The world definitely needs the brightest of minds to be a part of this. I said few words. Sorry, I took more than a few words.
Yeah, I think my answer is ditto to what Sushata ma'am said. And beyond that, if not follow this, also have your bank balance goals in mind. So I think that's also very important. Otherwise, you'll soon leave the appetite you had for making an impact.
Yes. Now the second question would be, what is one social problem that you think is not getting enough attention from the people?
Sorry?
What is one social problem that is not getting enough attention from the public, the people? So Dr. Ani, you can go first.
First and foremost is education. If people are educated, a lot of problems can be solved.
Okay.
My response would be, how we relate to nature and how we relate to the more than human, which includes animals, is not receiving the attention that it deserves. And it can be transformative if we change our extractive mindset towards nature and animals.
My answer would also be education, but not in the way that it is structured today. The government schools have to do a lot more to make education meaningful. The way it is taught to the masses. The people who are able to afford are taking tuitions and actually gaining the education, but without that, education is not at the level it should be. So education with a higher quality is what I would say is the most important fundamental foundation.
I would say employable education, which is also read as employable skills, and financial literacy, which is often not looked as a social problem as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, one thing you would do if you were in your 20s or something, about being passionate about social impact consulting.
No, repeat, please. It's not clear.
So what would you do if you were in your 20s about social impact consulting?
I would go on the ground and study the problems at length and then plan out further.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say the same thing. I would really spend time with communities and people who are impacted and affected, and with all humility, learn about what the world needs. So before I do anything else.
I think there are quite a few panelists way, too ahead of their 20s. But yeah, for me, I would say I wouldn't do anything different than what I did in my 20s. I think I learned a lot where I was, which I'm so grateful to be using where I am today. But to the 20s that are in their 20s today, I would, like I earlier said, try to learn how to do problem solving and come around to this part of the world to solve them.
So I am still in my 20s, so not the right person to answer this. But I think what I'm doing right now is read not just about impact, but also about the business world. You cannot just be in impact space and silos.
Okay, so the next question is AI and other advanced technologies a boon or bane for the social impact sector?
It could be a boon if it is used judiciously, and it could be a curse if it is misused and abused.
Yes, I think there is no or. It has tremendous potential, but it can be used only once one has appropriate railguards to regulate the harm that might result.
I think this is exactly what I was thinking as I was driving back home in Bangalore traffic yesterday. What would happen if AI were to actually take away jobs? As it is, there are so many unemployable youth with just paper degrees with who lack skilling. And if you're going to be, putting a lot more of them who are a lot more educated and capable out of jobs, what will happen to them? So I think we need to figure out a way to build certain, I'm sure the jobs are going to be there. AI, like any other past invention, will create new set of jobs. I think we need to start preparing ourselves to skill and keep our youth ready so that they are able to, take on those jobs. So I think any technology or anything new that comes, it's all in the way we use it and, prepare ourselves to, gain the maximum out of it.
I think plus one to all of this. I really don't have a separate or different thing to add on here. Yeah.
Okay, so the last question is one social problem you think the youth of the country should chip in their share the most in.
Should what?
One social problem in which the youth should chip in their share the most.
Education, get more involved with education, create more avenues and opportunities for children to develop interest in learning new skills and new activities, and they have a sustained sort of interest towards education to build their own careers and lives.
Thank you. I think I cannot but reference Greta Thunberg, one of the most impactful youth over the last few years, and say that that is what the youth need to do at this moment: take back control over decision making and ensure that our systems are indeed inclusive, just, and servicing the larger set of humanity and the more than human.
What I would say is participate. I think each one of us have tremendous amount of scope to participate. Don't be onlookers. Don't be armchair opinion givers. I'm not stating that our youth are doing it. I'm not at all stating that. But I think each one of us have the urge, have the ability, have the intent. But that intent should translate into participation and you will see wonders. You can do magic. The magic is in your hands.
I think mine is to live beyond social media. Don't just advocate things on social media. Do it in person. It's good to be on social media, but not just on social media. Causes are multiple. Pick up your favorite cause. Just start working and participating.
Okay, so we are on the ending part of the discussion. So as we wrap up this insightful discussion, I would like to ask each of the panelists to share one piece of advice or takeaway for our audience, especially those who are looking to make a meaningful impact in social entrepreneurship and consulting space, and give some wise words, the words of wisdom, which you would like to leave with our viewers today.
Engage with the communities around you to make it a better living place.
Thank you. I would want to say that learn how to really listen well, learn how to learn with nature, with elders, with groups that you're working with, because most of the answers that you're looking for are being made available to you. So really build that faculty and that competence of learning well with attention and focus.
Very well said, Abhay. I think, listen in, see what's going on around you, and please, put out that hand to help someone around you. I think each one of us can just do our very, very small little bit. And drops make ocean, we all know that. And the young minds that is here today, if they're even here on this call spending an hour and a half, I think I deeply appreciate your commitment and time given to something like this. Just continue doing this and inspire at least 2 to 3 people around you on being that empathetic towards solving social problems. In our lifetime, if we can do that, it needs your support, it needs your involvement.
I think before taking any career move, right, when you're graduating, 3 things I've always been following is network, read, and reflect. Reflect is mostly the thing we mostly don't do. We leave it at network and read. Network as much as you can. Draw 50 LinkedIn messages in a day, 10% will reply, right? Talk to more people about in this space, understand what are the pros and cons of being in this team, and then read about impact. Read about, does it resonate with you? Do you see yourself in the next 5 years doing this? And lastly, reflect with yourself, because you'll be talking to a lot of people. Often we don't talk to ourselves about what we want. So these 3 things could be the game changers while you're making a career move.
Okay, so that was a very wonderful discussion from your side. Now, I would like to ask audience if they have any questions, they can send on chat or raise their hands, ask the question. Mm, So I don't see any questions right now, so I think we can wrap it up the session. So
So either we were
yeah.
too boring or too convincing. One of that has happened already. Great.
Okay. Thank you all the panelists for joining us for this session and for the audience to staying with us during this wonderful discussion. Uh, Now I think we can end the meeting.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And thanks for giving your Sunday evening on a cricket match day. All the very best. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So everybody, y'all, do not leave. We are actually having some testimonials, and this is the last session, so we would like to have some testimonials from 4 people. First we have Daksh Arora. He's from VIT.
Can I
I'll
go?
pin you. Yeah, just pin you 1 second.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
Okay, so firstly, I'm sorry, I'm kind of in a university event, so if there is noise, I'm really sorry in advance. So, anyways, I'll start. So, okay, so firstly, I'm Daksha Arora, and I'm a second year student at VIT Vellore, and I study engineering. I would firstly like to congratulate the entire team of 180 Degree IITM for carrying out such a fantastic event. Like, I genuinely learned something from here. Like, I do not see, like, I don't know how many of you hate engineering, but whatever is the number, multiply that into 50, and that is my hate for engineering. But here I got something I loved. I understood that consulting is something I would like to pursue in my future. So, like, again, I learned a lot about concepts of consulting, how to approach it, like domain specific topics such as guesstimates, presentation skills, and like today we got to know about social consulting. And yeah, I think I'm really thankful for the team to provide me such an amazing event and all the mentors and the friends I've gotten in the past 4 weeks. So thank you guys.
That's really wonderful to hear from you. Thank you for really
Thank you so
participating and
much.
coming ahead. So next we have Tanishka Agarwal. She's from Deshbandhu College, Delhi University. Are you here? Okay, I think
No, I don't.
yeah, I think she has left the meet. So we have next Deepak Kumar Mishra. He is an MBA student from IIFT Delhi.
So, good evening, friends. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. So, I'm Deepak Kumar Mishra, an MBA pursuing business analytics from IIFT Delhi. So, I would say that sessions help me a lot in terms of getting good understanding of what consulting domain is. Actually, I already had a good idea of consulting domain, but interacting with people directly from MBBs, they are my favorites, and in future, I'm definitely gonna join them. So interacting with them, working on some cases was have been such a great experience for me. And thank you 180 DC Consulting and IIT Madras for conducting such events and having me on board.
Thank you so much. It's really wonderful to hear that you had a positive experience. Next we have Ayan from IIM Visakhapatnam. Is he here? Okay. No issues. Does anyone in the audience right now want to talk about ConsultSchool or just wants to come up and talk about what they felt, how the experience was? Okay, I guess most of our audience is shy. So let's end today's session. So this is the last session and the final session for ConsultSchool 2.0. We hope that you will pass on how your experience to your friends and your juniors in the future when we have ConsultSchool next year as well. So thank you for participating in ConsultSchool 2.0. We hope to see your submissions today. And yes, another note that we are planning to extend the deadline for today's the submission for this week. So you needn't worry. You will also receive your feedback soon. There's a delay because we are receiving a lot of submissions. So it's taking time to check all of them. So we have started sending feedbacks. You all will receive it soon, and we hope that you all solve the next case really well, and we see wonderful submissions from all of you. So yeah, thank you everybody.
Thank you so much.
I think some people have some doubts.
Yeah. So the doubt is what's the process further? So yeah, like we said, we had one case that you all had to solve for the 3 weeks. We have another case that will be released once we close the submission for week 3. So that will be a case from Udan Welfare Foundation. So it's a real-time case. So we expect all of you all to really put in your effort, and because those solutions will be going to the foundation. And if your solutions are really good, they will implement it someday, and you'll be very proud of yourself. So yes, put in your effort. You will be given a week's time, and those submissions will be corrected by them also. So hope to have maybe 3 of you all here in the meet itself as a top 3. So yeah, and the second doubt is when will we get a ranking based on our submissions? So we are not releasing the ranking based on every week, but we are planning to release it at the end of the program, because we have a cumulative score based on also how much you have improved per week. So yeah, I hope that's answers your doubt. Any other doubts that you all have regarding the program or anything in general?
Yeah, I have two queries. First of all,